I'd like to talk a little bit about Noah today. I'd like to talk about the part of Noah's life where Noah was drunk in his tent and his son Ham saw his nakedness. My thinking on this is that Noah went through a great deal in regards to building the ark and the probably just the scorn and the disbelief of the people in his time that possibly mocked him and did not believe, because it says that only himself and his wife and his sons and their wives were saved. So it was only eight people out of, I'm not quite sure how many people were on the earth at that time, but only 8 people were saved. And it doesn't really say exactly what he went through, but I'm sure it wasn't easy. And at the end of it all, when the boat finally landed and the land was dry, and after he had planted a vineyard, that's a great deal of work. Those few sentences really reveal a great deal of stress and work, from the time he was building to the time he was in the flood to the time he was waiting for the land to dry, and then when the land was actually dry and he planted a vineyard, that was a great deal of stress. And he, for whatever reason, we don't know exactly why, but let's just say it was due to stress. He drank and he was uncovered in his tent, and his son Ham saw his nakedness. And I want to say, what I want to talk about is that many people have a great deal of pain and stress and unhappiness in their lives, and sometimes that happiness is caused by other so-called Christians, with the emphasis on so-called. They're actually like servants of Satan. And sometimes a believer, is so hard-pressed, so just harassed by devils and demons, that they will do almost anything to get away from it, to get out of it, even to the point of, self-medicating or drinking. Because I think of all these people, like you see these people on the streets in LA, and maybe we have family members, and we don't know what kind of pain we've caused them, and to cause them, to cause someone to start drinking or to cause someone to start using drugs. And then we turn around and we see them in their very, very vulnerable state, like Ham saw his father in a very vulnerable state. And, rather than saying, have I caused this? Did I cause this? Did I contribute to this? We kind of point the finger at them and kind of revel in their nakedness and revel in their vulnerability, at their lowest and weakest, and we don't recognize the part we played, in their stumbling or their weakness. We don't realize that maybe we drove them to that point. Maybe the parents of all these people in LA drove them to that point. Or they had someone that just really harmed them or crushed them in their time of a time of need. And even Christians, so-called Christians, that are really not from God at all. They're from Satan. And they cause someone else to really stumble and fall, and then they want to turn around and point the finger. And when that Christian is trying to get away from the attack, and becomes vulnerable, then they turn around and, oh, aha, you're like us, you're one of us. So please, please, check your own spirit, check your own heart and soul. When you see someone, when you see a relative, when you see someone trying to medicate themselves, through some substance, God forbid, that are just trying to, get through with some alcohol or drugs, God forbid they've turned to that. Examine your own heart, examine your own words that examine your own mind and spirit. Maybe you're satanic and you've caused them to get to that point.